there comes a moment in life when the heart gets tired of searching, tired of fake promises, tired of empty conversations, tired of giving love to people who only knew how to leave. And maybe, my future wife, that's exactly where you were when destiny quietly walked toward you, not chasing love, not begging for attention, not trying to be chosen anymore. You were simply healing, learning how to live with your own loneliness, believing that maybe real love was never written for you. But the beautiful thing about love is this: sometimes it arrives only after you stop looking for it, and somewhere in this world, while you were rebuilding your broken heart piece by piece, Abby was searching for a soul exactly like yours. A woman who knows pain, yet still chooses kindness. A woman who has cried in silence, yet still carries love in her heart. Future wife Abby didn't find you in a perfect moment. I found you in the moment you finally gave up on finding anyone at all. Keynote number 1, the day you stopped searching was the day my soul started walking toward you. Keynote number 2, you were learning to live alone, while fate was secretly preparing me for you. Future wife Abby, don't think people understand how much strength it takes to stop looking for love, because before a person gives up searching, they usually fight for it first. They stay too long in conversations that drain them, they hold on to people who slowly become strangers. They replay old memories at night wondering what they did wrong. They try to become softer, prettier, calmer, easier to love, and after enough heartbreak, something inside them changes, not because they stop believing in love completely, because they get tired of carrying disappointment in their chest every single day. And I think that's where you were before I found you. You weren't chasing relationships anymore. You weren't staying awake hoping someone would finally text back with honesty in their heart. You stopped forcing connections that felt one-sided. Stopped begging people to see your worth. You became quiet, not cold, not heartless, just careful, because life had already taught you what happens. You give your whole heart to people who only know how to borrow it temporarily. And maybe nobody noticed the silent battles you fought. Maybe nobody saw how many nights you cried without making a sound, because you didn't want anyone to hear the pain in your voice. Maybe nobody understood how hard it was for you to smile during the day while carrying loneliness at night. Maybe people thought you were strong because you stopped talking about your sadness. But the truth is, you were just learning how to survive with it. Future wife Abby. Wish I could go back to every version of you that almost gave up on love completely. The version of you that stared at the ceiling wondering why love always felt temporary. The version of you that watched other people get chosen while you kept getting forgotten. The version of you that deleted messages, deleted photos, deleted memories, trying to convince yourself you were finally moving on, because if I could hold your face in my hands during those moments, I would whisper something very simple to you. It's not over yet. I know there were moments when you convinced yourself that maybe real love only existed for other people. Maybe you thought your story would only be filled with almosts, almost loved, almost chosen, almost understood, almost enough. But love has a strange way of arriving late, not because you were forgotten by destiny, but your heart to survive certain storms before it could recognize something real. And while you were learning how to live without depending on anyone, Abby was somewhere in this world becoming the man capable of loving you correctly. I was healing too. People always talk about finding the right person. Nobody talks enough about becoming the right person first, because love without healing becomes fear. Love without maturity becomes control. Love without honesty becomes pain disguised as affection. And maybe that's why life kept delaying us. Because if we met earlier, we might have destroyed each other accidentally. You would met me before I learned how to communicate softly, before I understood patience, before I realized that real love isn't possession. It's protection. And I would met you before you learned your value, before you stopped settling for half love, before you understood that your heart deserved consistency instead of confusion. So destiny waited. It waited through your tears, through your loneliness, through your disappointments, through every moment you sat alone trying to convince yourself you didn't need anybody anymore. And maybe the most beautiful thing about you is that even after everything you went through, you still kept your heart gentle. that amazes me about people like you. Some people become cruel after heartbreak, some become emotionally unavailable, some start hurting others because they were hurt first. But you, even after betrayal, you still cared deeply. Even after abandonment, you still loved honestly. Even after being disappointed, you still prayed for something real, quickly, accurately, without telling anyone, because deep down, your soul still believed there had to be someone out there capable of loving you, without making you question yourself every day. And future wife, that someone was always going to be me. Not perfect me, not flawless me, not a man without scars, just a man who finally learned that love should feel safe. I want you to know something. When I imagine meeting you for the first time, I don't picture fireworks. I don't picture dramatic movie moments. I don't picture perfection. I picture peace, a strange kind of peace that makes two tired souls feel like they can finally put their armor down, because when someone has been hurt enough, they stop craving excitement, they start craving honesty, calmness, gentleness, consistency. And I think when we finally meet, you'll notice it immediately, not in the way I look at you, in the way I stay. Because people always promise forever at the beginning. That part is easy. The difficult part is remaining soft during misunderstandings. Remaining loyal during hard seasons, remaining patient when life becomes heavy, remaining emotionally present when the world feels exhausting. That's the kind of love I want to give you, not loud love, not temporary love, not love that disappears the moment things become difficult. I want to love you in the quietest ways, by remembering small details, by noticing when your smile feels forced, by holding your hand during stressful moments without needing words, by listening carefully when you talk about things nobody else pays attention to, because I know what it feels like to exist in rooms where nobody truly sees you, and I never want you to feel invisible again. Future wife, think about your past sometimes. Not because I'm jealous of it. Not because I'm angry about the people who hurt you, but because I wish somebody had protected your heart sooner. I wish somebody told you earlier that love should never leave you anxious every night. I wish somebody taught you that confusion is not romance. I wish somebody reminded you that being difficult to love is not the same thing as being unworthy of love. You were never hard to love. You were just giving your heart to people who didn't know how to carry something so sincere. And sincerity is rare now. Most people want attention more than connection. Most people want convenience more than commitment. Most people leave the moment love requires effort. But you still believe in staying. That's why your heart breaks so deeply. Because loyal people don't know how to love halfway. And maybe that's why life had to protect you by making you alone for a while. Not to punish you, not to abandon you, but to teach you that your happiness could not depend entirely on another human being. You learned how to comfort yourself. How to survive lonely nights, how to carry your own pain quietly, how to rebuild after disappointment, and even though it hurt. Those lessons transformed you into someone incredibly beautiful emotionally, not beautiful because you never suffered. Beautiful because you survived suffering without losing your softness. That kind of heart is rare. And future wife, when I finally hold you close someday, think one of the first things I'll notice is how exhausted your soul has been pretending to be okay for so long. You'll probably still apologize for things that aren't your fault sometimes. You'll probably overthink small changes in my tone, because your past taught you that love can disappear suddenly. You'll probably struggle to believe compliments at first, because life made you question your worth too many times. So, I'll be patient with you. Not because you're difficult, but because healing people deserve gentle love. I'll remind you that you don't have to earn affection by suffering anymore. I'll remind you that healthy love doesn't play games with your emotions. I'll remind you that real commitment sounds peaceful, not confusing, and slowly, think your heart will begin relaxing in my presence, not immediately, not magically, but little by little. Like someone finally putting down heavy bags they've carried for years. Future wife, wonder if you know how deeply lovable you are, not because of your appearance, not because of how productive you are, not because of what you can do for others, but because of your soul, the way you care deeply, even when you pretend not to. The way you still become emotional over small acts of kindness. The way you secretly want a simple life filled with real affection instead of temporary excitement. You are the kind of woman who turns ordinary moments into memories. Late-night conversations, quiet car rides, morning coffee together, sitting beside each other in silence after difficult days. That's the kind of love I dream about with you, not perfection, just presence, because when two emotionally tired people finally find each other, love stops being about performance, it becomes about peace. And maybe one day, after everything we've survived, separately, we'll sit together somewhere quiet and realize something beautiful, that every heartbreak before us was leading us toward this moment. Every disappointment, every goodbye, every lonely night, every unanswered prayer, all of it slowly guiding two souls toward the same destination. You know what I think is beautiful about destiny? Sometimes two people miss each other for years, only because they needed time to become who they were meant to be first, and during that waiting season, you learned independence. You learned emotional strength, you learned discernment, and I learned how to love without ego, how to communicate honestly, how to stay loyal even when life becomes difficult, so when we finally find each other, won't feel rushed, it'll feel earned, not earned through suffering alone, through growth. Because the healthiest love often comes after the loneliest seasons, after the game stops being attractive, after emotional chaos becomes exhausting, after people finally realize they don't want temporary attention anymore, they want something real, and future wife AB promise. When I love you, you'll never have to wonder where you stand in my life. I'll make it obvious, not through expensive gifts, not through dramatic speeches every day, but through consistency, through effort, through honesty, through emotional safety. Because I know what unstable love does to a person. I know how it creates anxiety. I know how it makes people question themselves constantly. I know how it slowly destroys self-worth, and I never want my love to become another wound you must heal from later. I want my love to feel like rest, the kind of rest your soul has needed for years. I want you to feel safe enough to be emotional around me. Safe enough to speak honestly. Safe enough to stop pretending you're okay when you're not. Because strong women get tired too. People admire their strength so much that they forget those women also need comfort, need reassurance, need affection, need someone who notices when they're carrying too much emotionally. And future wife AB want to become that safe place for you, not because I think I can save you completely, no human can do that, but because love should help people breathe easier, not harder. And maybe that's what makes mature love different from immature love. Immature love says, you complete me. Mature love says, I respect the person you already are. And I want to walk beside you while we continue growing together. That's what I want with you. Partnership, loyalty, emotional intimacy, the kind of connection where silence doesn't feel awkward because both hearts finally feel understood. And maybe one night in the future, you'll look at me while we're sitting together after a long day, and you'll realize something quietly, that you no longer feel lonely anymore. Not because loneliness disappeared completely. Because you finally found someone who stays emotionally present beside you, someone who listens, someone who notices, someone who chooses you continuously instead of temporarily. And I think that realization will heal parts of your heart you stopped talking about years ago. Future wife, AB, no, you probably became independent because life forced you to be. You learned how to stop expecting too much from people because disappointment became familiar. You learned how to comfort yourself because others rarely understood your sadness correctly. You learned how to carry pain silently because explaining it became exhausting. But one day AB, hope you allow yourself to rest in love again, not toxic love, not manipulative love, not unpredictable love, real love, the kind that feels calm, the kind that doesn't disappear after vulnerability, the kind that doesn't punish honesty, the kind that stays gentle during difficult conversations. Because future wife, you deserve a love that doesn't make survival feel necessary. You deserve a love that feels like home after years of emotional wandering. And maybe when you finally stop looking for love completely, when you fully focus on healing yourself, when you finally accept the possibility that happiness can exist even while alone, That's exactly when I'll walk into your life unexpectedly, not loudly, not perfectly, but sincerely. And maybe at first, you won't trust it. Maybe your heart will hesitate, because pain taught you to be careful. Maybe you'll analyze my consistency wondering when it will suddenly change. Maybe you'll wait for disappointment because your past convinced you that good things never stay long. Future wife, AB think one of the saddest things about life is how many people learn to live without love before they ever truly experience it. Not because they want to be alone. Because disappointment slowly teaches them to stop expecting too much from others. And maybe that's exactly what happened to you. Maybe you spent years giving your heart to people who only knew how to hold it temporarily, people who loved attention more than connection. People who spoke beautifully, but disappeared when life became difficult. People who made promises during emotional moments, then acted like strangers later, so little by little. You stopped hoping so loudly. You became quieter about your dreams, quieter about your loneliness, quieter about the love you secretly still wanted deep inside your chest, and eventually, you started convincing yourself that being alone was safer than being disappointed. Again, future wife, AB wish I could seen you during those moments. The nights you stayed awake overthinking conversations, the mornings you forced yourself to smile. Even when your heart felt emotionally exhausted. The times you sat alone trying to understand why love always seemed easier for everyone else. Because I know there were moments when you questioned yourself, you wondered if maybe you were too emotional, muchos. Too caring, too loyal, too soft for this generation. But the truth is, you were never too much, you were simply offering genuine love to people who only understood temporary feelings, and genuine hearts always suffer more in temporary situations. That's why your soul became tired. Not tired of loving. Tired of loving people who treated your heart casually. And somewhere during all that pain, you slowly began building walls around yourself. Not angry walls, not cruel walls, protective walls, the kind people build after being emotionally disappointed too many times. You stopped texting first, stopped opening up too quickly, stopped believing compliments immediately, stopped trusting consistency because you had seen how quickly people can change. And honestly, AB don't blame you for becoming careful. A heart that has been broken repeatedly learns survival before it learns trust again. Future wife. While you were going through all of that, AB was changing too. Life was teaching me lessons in completely different places. I was learning that love isn't just chemistry, it isn't just attraction, it isn't just beautiful words spoken late at night. Real love is responsibility, patience, presence, loyalty during ordinary days, because anyone can love somebody when everything feels exciting, but mature love appears during difficult seasons, during misunderstandings, during stressful moments, during periods when life feels heavy and imperfect. And maybe that's why destiny delayed us, because if we had met too early, we would have met as incomplete versions of ourselves. You would have met me before I understood emotional consistency, before I learned how deeply words can affect someone already carrying invisible pain, before I realized that being emotionally unavailable can quietly destroy a loving person. And I would have met you before you recognized your own value. Before you stopped accepting breadcrumbs disguised as affection. Before you understood that healthy love should never leave you anxious every single day, so life separated us intentionally, not to punish us, but to prepare us. While you were learning independence, AB was learning emotional maturity. While you were healing abandonment wounds, AB was learning how to become someone safe enough to love a heart like yours correctly. And future wife AB think that preparation matters more than people realize, because love alone is not enough when two people are emotionally unhealed. Unhealed people can love each other deeply and still hurt each other, accidentally. Not because they are evil, because pain changes the way people communicate, trust, and react emotionally. That's why healing matters. And I know healing wasn't easy for you. Nobody talks enough about how lonely healing actually feels. People romanticize it online. But real healing is painful. It's crying over memories you thought you already moved on from. It's fighting the urge to text people who hurt you simply because loneliness became overwhelming. It's learning how to sit with silence without letting sadness consume you. Healing means facing yourself honestly, facing parts of you that tolerated less than you deserved, facing the moments you ignored red flags because you feared losing connection, facing the reality that some people only loved the version of you that constantly sacrificed herself for them. And future wife AB, know there were nights when healing felt impossible. Nights when you missed people who didn't even deserve access to your heart anymore, nights when loneliness convinced you to settle emotionally, nights when your own thoughts became too heavy to carry alone. But look at you, you survived every single one of those nights, you kept going, even when your heart was exhausted. Even when your hope became fragile, even when love felt distant and uncertain, that strength inside you, that quiet emotional resilience, is one of the reasons I know you'll become an incredible partner someday, because people who survive deep heartbreak often learn how precious gentle love truly is, and future wife AB don't want to give you chaotic love. The world already gave you enough confusion. I don't want you constantly questioning my feelings. I don't want you staying awake wondering whether I still care. I don't want you analyzing my silence, trying to figure out if you've become unwanted. No, I want my love to feel clear, not perfect, but honest, because emotionally exhausted people don't need more intensity. They need safety, and safety in love is rare now. People disappear without explanation. People lie casually. People treat commitment like a temporary mood, instead of a serious emotional responsibility. That's why so many good-hearted people stop believing in lasting love. Not because they hate romance, because they became tired of inconsistency, and maybe that's exactly where you were before destiny slowly guided us toward each other. You weren't desperately searching anymore. You weren't chasing attention anymore. You weren't begging to be chosen anymore. You were simply trying to build peace inside yourself. And strangely, that's often when real love arrives. Not when people are obsessively hunting for validation, but when they finally start valuing their own emotional well-being first. Future wife, AB, imagine you during that stage of your life, sometimes listening to music alone, trying to heal quietly. Smiling less loudly than before, protecting your energy more carefully, still soft-hearted. Just more cautious about who gets access to your heart. And honestly, that caution is beautiful to me. Because it means you finally understood your worth. People who know their worth stop entertaining temporary affection. They stop begging for consistency. They stop shrinking themselves to keep others comfortable. And maybe for the first time in your life, you started choosing yourself too. That's powerful, because many loving people spend years abandoning themselves while trying to keep others happy. But eventually, pain teaches them an important lesson. You cannot destroy your own peace trying to earn somebody else's love. And future wife, by the time we meet I think both of us will already be tired of games, tired of emotional immaturity, tired of temporary people, tired of connections that feel exciting for a moment, but empty afterward. We'll want something deeper, something quieter, intentional. Something emotionally honest, and I think that's what will make our connection feel different immediately. Not because it will be dramatic, but because it will feel emotionally safe. Like two people finally realizing they no longer have to perform to be loved. You'll be able to tell me when you're sad without fearing abandonment. I'll be able to communicate openly without fearing emotional distance. And slowly, we'll begin creating the kind of relationship both of us secretly prayed for during lonely nights. A relationship built on understanding instead of ego, patience instead of pride, comfort instead of confusion. Future wife AB, know your heart still carries scars. Even healed people carry scars. Certain memories still hurt sometimes, certain songs still remind you of old pain, certain disappointments still echo quietly inside you when life becomes emotional. But I promise, I'll never use your vulnerability against you. I'll never make you regret opening your heart. Honestly, I'll never punish you for feeling deeply, because sensitive hearts deserve protection, not manipulation. And honestly, AB, think one of the most beautiful moments in love is when someone finally realizes they no longer need to stay emotionally guarded all the time. That moment when the heart slowly relaxes. When anxiety becomes peace. When fear becomes trust. I want to help create that feeling inside you. Not through empty promises, but through consistent actions. Because trust is not built through words alone. It's built through patterns. Through staying, through honesty, through emotional reliability over time. And future wife AB, no, you'll probably still struggle sometimes. You'll probably overthink certain things because your past taught you to expect disappointment. You'll probably become quiet when you're hurting because you spent years handling pain alone. You'll probably apologize too much because life made you feel like your emotions were burdensome. So I'll remind you gently, again and again, you are not difficult to love. You are simply someone who has been hurt deeply before. There's a difference. And healing doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means finding someone safe enough to be emotional around without fear. I want to become that person for you. The person who listens carefully. The person who notices small changes in your energy. The person who understands that sometimes silence means I'm overwhelmed, instead of I don't care. Because future wife, love is not only about romance, it's also about emotional understanding. Understanding how someone carries pain. Understanding their fears, understanding the invisible battles they rarely talk about openly. And I want to understand you completely. Not just the smiling version of you, not just the strong version. Not just the beautiful version. All of you, the overthinking version, the tired version, the emotionally drained version, the version that sometimes doubts whether lasting love truly exists anymore. Because real love does not only hold hands during happiness. It also holds hearts during difficult moments. And future wife A, think, one day you'll finally realize why nothing worked out before us. Not because you were unlovable, not because destiny forgot about you, but because your soul was always meant for a deeper kind of love than temporary people could offer. You were never created for half-hearted affection. You were never meant to beg for reassurance constantly. You were never supposed to shrink your emotions just to avoid scaring emotionally unavailable people away. No, you were always meant for a love that feels steady. A love that chooses you fully, a love that respects your softness instead of exploiting it, a love that stays gentle even during difficult conversations. And maybe one day, after everything we survive separately, we'll sit together quietly and realize something beautiful. That every painful goodbye before us was secretly redirecting our lives toward each other. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every lonely season, all of it shaping two hearts into people finally capable of recognizing real love when it arrives. And maybe that's why fate waited until you stopped searching for love completely, because only then did you finally stop settling for less than your soul deserved.